Hey, what is going on, massive freaks? Welcome to Friday. Welcome to Massive Iron Live, the longest running lifting podcast, live lifting podcast in the history of the universe. We will be here forever. We're in the process of porting over my everything into AI. So even after I pass on, I'll be able to do Q&As via AI. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Welcome to Friday. It is Massive Iron Live. I'm here to answer your questions. So if you're new, don't hesitate to post up your questions. Diet, training, nutrition, off topic, respectful off topic questions, all welcome here at the live. My job is to simplify things, to simplify training, to take all the confusion out of it. And influencer fitness, YouTube fitness, a lot of confusion, a lot of fear culture. And it is my mission to educate, to simplify, and to focus you guys on the effective, timeless basics that work and will always work. So if you have a question, please post it up. I would love to help. Now, regarding questions, if your question doesn't go through, try shortening it. Sometimes longer questions will not show up in the YouTubes. And sometimes if you use a naughty word or a word YouTube doesn't like, it'll filter it. It's not me banning you or shadow banning you or blocking you or whatever. So let's get into things. Before we do, just a reminder. If you are interested, I offer a custom workout service. You can just go over here and hit custom or check out the link in the description box of any of my recent videos. Outside of coaching, it's my most popular service, and it's not cookie cutter. Every Saturday and Sunday, I sit down and knock out custom workouts. They take me about an hour to knock out for each one. And I send you a list of questions. Split preference, exercise preference, injury history, all that kind of good stuff. And for only $39, I send you a complete custom program and some information on how to bulk and cut to maximize your body composition, etc. So head over here and hit custom. If you are interested in coaching, it is what I do for a living. In fact, rumor has it, I was the 2023 Online Coach of the Year. Not toot my own horn, but hey, I didn't expect to win it. I was happy to win it. I beat out 400,000 other online coaches and coaches that use the world's largest coaching app, Trainerize. I love doing this. This is what I do for a living. I love helping people. I love simplifying lifting. If you're interested, please head over to my website and search coaching. So, how's training going? How you doing? I'm just rocking right now with my training. Everything is going wonderfully well. I really couldn't ask for my training to be going better right now. Not only is my training going well, I'm ending 6 weeks of my cut. That is going well. And about a month ago, I introduced jiu-jitsu. And surprisingly, I mean, I didn't know what to expect, right? With jiu-jitsu, I just didn't know what to expect. I'll be 58 in about 4 weeks, October 13th. If you want to give me a present, cheesecake or tickets to the World Series, anything like that, I accept all donations. But seriously, though, I'll be 58 in 4 weeks, and I didn't know what to expect, crawling around on the mat, rolling around. But, man, I'm having a blast. And I'm really looking forward to it. Tomorrow will be my 4th jiu-jitsu session in 8 weeks. Recovery's going great. No issues. I'm just going to see what happens. So right now the cut is going well. Training is going well. Jiu-jitsu is going well. And we are killing it. How's your training going? What are you guys doing for your workouts? Please let me know. One thing I mentioned is that if you would like me to look at your form on any lift, deadlift, squats, bench, whatever, you can post up a linky winky here in the chat window, and I'd be happy to look at your form. So I think that is about it. So before I get started, I want to give a notice that for those of you guys that watch or listen, maybe while you're working out, maybe while you're doing the treadmill, whatever, and you can't always see the titles, I'm going to try to make sure I read the question in completion so you guys can hear the question and not wonder what the heck I'm talking about. All right. Let's go. All right, let me scoot forward here. Steve, do you have Venmo to send some birthday love? Oh, an old fashioned coming your way. I do, but honestly, I appreciate it. I don't need anything from you guys, so I was just kind of being a little bit facetious. But you can actually donate to the channel through here. There's a $sign in the chat window if you want to drop a couple of bucks as a thank you. So you can always do that. All right. Big Ernie Peterson. Good morning, Ernie Peterson. Good to have you. Richard has just joined Team Massive Discord. If you would like to join the Discord server, check out yesterday's video. In the description box, you're going to see a link to Discord. Come join us. It's troll free. It's nonsense free. We just talk lifting. We talk food. We talk food. We talk lifting. No politics, no religion, no trolls, no nothing. We just talk lifting. So come on over. When is the first jiu-jitsu tournament? What has it been like entering the world of martial arts? Absolutely just fun. I have a really good instruction staff, a married couple. They do a wonderful job, really good instructors, and it's going a lot better than I expected. I'm seeing potential, not like when I say I'm seeing potential, what I mean is that I am, functional enough that the idea of maybe competing, down the road in a year or whatever seems like it is a possibility. I think I'm a lot more not agile, but you haven't been crawling around on a mat a long time. You've been standing on a mat. So I think I'm doing better than I thought. And I don't have any, false beliefs that I would be, any degree of good. But I think it would be fun. So I'm just going to see what happens and, just kind of take it step by step. What is your MMA and weightlifting routine right now? I'll walk you through the last week. So Saturday was gi, jiu-jitsu. So last Saturday I did gi jiu-jitsu and junk day. So on my junk day on Saturday, I usually do, I do whatever I feel like, rear delts, calves, some more arm work, whatever is the soup of the day, whatever I feel like doing on junk day. I don't really pressure myself. And then I take off on Sunday. We try to do some extra walking or walk running. I'm trying to do that on Saturday or Sunday. And then Monday, I do chesticles. Okay. Tuesday, I do back and biceps. Wednesday, I do shoulders. So this Wednesday, I did shoulders and I did gi. No, Tuesday, I went to jiu-jitsu as well. Tuesday, I went to jiu-jitsu. And that was gi. So I did back and gi. Wednesday I did shoulders and no gi. Thursday, yesterday, I did legs. Friday is a complete day off. And then tomorrow is going to be junk. So I worked out 4 days a week this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And then I'm going to add in a Saturday. So working out 5 days a week. And jiu-jitsu Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday. I'm not going to do every Tuesday. It depends on my schedule, but at least Wednesday and Saturday. So that's my story. Well, the story of the week, I'm completely unprepared. Why do I do this to myself? What kind of story do you want to hear? What should we do for story time? What should we talk about for story time? Um, I've shared so many stories over the week or over the years. I'm trying to go back a little bit, and how did I get into all this? How about we tell a story about how I got into all this and I am where I am? Um, I worked as a machinist. For a long time, I did mobile hearing. So I was in healthcare, and I was in occupational health for about 5 years, 4.5, 5 years. I did mobile hearing and occupational health. So I would drive around a pretty long 30, 40-foot vehicle. And I would go to factories and businesses, and I would do hearing tests for the employees. And every Friday, I'd come back to the office and I do screening work before the nurse practitioner would do pre-employment physicals. So I do a lot of drug tests, a lot of alcohol tests. I check their blood pressure and pulse. I do the eye test. I basically do everything before the nurse practitioner would see them. So that was part of my job as well. But I worked for about 4 or 5 years, about 4.5 to 5 years in occupational health. I literally was doing 10,000 hearing tests a year. Literally, that's not an exaggeration. I was on the road 4 days a week. A lot of times my days were 12 to 16-hour days. Sometimes I'd be getting up at 1 a.m. on Monday morning and going out and doing 16 hours of hearing tests. And you would do 2 people every 10 minutes. So you're basically doing 10 people an hour. And when you had 16-hour days, you were doing at least 120, 130 people a day. There was no breaks. It was drink and maybe run out to pee if you could. But I was generally doing just a crazy amount of hearing tests every week. So long story short, I did that for about 5 years. And then the private hospital that I was working for was bought out and corporatized, and they decided to take my job and give it to a private company, and I could go apply with that private company as a contractor if I still want to work with the hospital. And I said, nah, we good. We're good. So I went off and I worked as a machinist for about 1.5 years, and then I ended up getting laid off. And this is going someplace. So I got laid off. The economy was pretty bad around 2006, 2007-ish. And basically I got laid off for 1 year. So I started a website called Muscle and Brawn. It was a WordPress website and a forum on vBulletin. I no longer own that site. I sold it. Someone made me a very lucrative offer of $17,000 to sell that website many, many years ago, well over a decade ago, and I sold it. $17,000. I'm like, man, I'll take it. But anyway, I started writing articles during that time. My training was really going well. I was doing a lot of experimentation at the time. Bulldozer training came about, a drunk Russian program, and just so many things I was creating. And I was writing for Muscle and Brawn, my own website. And lo and behold, one day I got an email, and we had a great forum. We were talking about programming nonstop, classic full body stuff and golden and silver era and programming. It was just, we were just all over it. We were talking so deeply about full body and frequency while the lifting industry was still in the body part split world. Anyway, I got an email from a company called, I got an email from a company called Muscle and Strength. They were a small company back then. They're a lot bigger now. And they would pay me to write 2 articles a day. So I'd get up and I'd write articles at home, and I was doing my website. And then I got asked for, I got to write for Critical Bench a little bit, a website that no longer exists called Female Muscle. And then we were doing so well at Muscle and Strength because I like to put out workouts, and my workouts were doing really, really good at Muscle and Strength. My original Power Muscle burn has somewhere like well over 4,000 comments, and the articles and the workouts were doing so good. The website was growing, the business was growing. And I just developed, I was working as an editor, recruiting other writers. Everything moved so quickly. I ended up moving to South Carolina. But during that time, around 2008 or so, I started doing YouTube. Just when I was a machinist, I was listening to a ESPN radio, and one of the guys was talking about, hey, I listen to this thing called YouTube, and it's really cool, and you can make videos and post your videos online, and people look at them. So I went and checked out YouTube, and I started making YouTube videos. I think my 100th video, I ate an entire pack of bacon to celebrate. Those were the good old days. A lot of really crappy filler videos, but that's how I kind of got into things. I started doing YouTube and started writing for Muscle and Strength at the same time. And I never expected to be here. I just didn't. Everything I did for the longest time was just putting out information for free. And I still do my very best to do that. Any workouts I put out, I try to put out for free here. But after about 4 or 5 years with Muscle and Strength, one of their competitors, I reached out to one of their competitors. It was just time to move on. And they had actually known who I was because I had developed a reputation for one of the best content development guys in the industry. And they paid for me to move to Ohio, and they knew who I was without me even mentioning who my name was. And they flew me in. Got to work for Tiger Fitness. That's really, I was working with some celebrities, et cetera, at Muscle and Strength, but nothing like I was at Tiger Fitness. And things just exponentially took off. And somehow, along the journey, I decided to start coaching on the side, and I didn't really think anybody would want me to coach them. I'm just a schmuck who was making videos in his basement, right? And wow, did it take off crazy fast, and I feel so blessed. And I love what I'm doing. Coaching is what I do for a living, and I love doing it, and I'm going to continue doing it. And it has opened so many doors. I have so many wonderful clients from all over the world, and I'm appreciative for all of them. And I take this very, very seriously, so that's my story of the week. I started making videos in the basement and lifting really heavy rocks and just putting out workout ideas. And here I am. Richard, before you start training, do you warm up? No, I don't. If you want to bring your, to bring your body temperature up, doing a little steady state cardio, you can. Honestly, here's the thing. Like some folks, some in the lifting industry will go in and do some steady state cardio and, get the body moving, bring up the body temperature. Honestly, with where I'm at, if I go into the gym to deadlift or squat or bench, my warm up to bring up my body temperature is walking into the gym, doing a couple of warm ups with 45s, putting on 135, like walking around the gym, grabbing plates. By the time I actually get to my first working set, I'm usually at least 20 minutes in, and I'm already warm just from doing that. I don't care for mobility work. If you want to do it, go ahead. I don't have any interest in it. I don't have any time to do it. I don't have time to stretch, to do mobility work. It's nothing I really am interested in, nothing I really care about. How do I prepare for a run? How do I prepare for a lift? I just go in. Start like on a run. I don't stretch. I don't do mobility work. I don't do anything fancy. I just go out and start walking the first 200 yards. And then I start slowly running the next couple of 100 yards. And then I just let my pace come to me. So that's how I do it. That's it. Nothing complicated. All right. So remind me to read the entire questions. Hey, Steve and Team Massive, is the incline bench necessary? I have replaced it with flat and overhead, and both have progressed significantly compared to other training years. Is the incline bench necessary? No. No exercise is necessary. If you are doing an overhead press and a bench press, dumbbell, barbell, whatever variations, you're fine. You don't need to do an incline bench press. You don't need to. That doesn't mean it can't be enjoyable and can't add a little bit of extra flavor, but it's not required. I mean, you don't have to, like, if you're not doing it, you're not going to miss out. I mean, is there a slight potential, to add a little bit of upper chest stress? Absolutely. But do I think if you're doing flat bench and overhead press and you are attacking it and making good progress that it's going to make a dramatic difference? Probably not for most people. I like to work in an incline variation at least every 2 weeks just to flesh things out, but it's not necessary. I mean, just do what you're doing and do what you love doing. And if you're making good progress, attack it and don't really sweat, anything beyond that. There's going to be a lot of different seasons in your training. If you want to work in an incline, you don't have to do it every week. You could do it every other week. Alternate between incline bench and flat bench, incline dumbbell, flat dumbbell. There's no harm in doing it, but there's really no harm in not doing it. You just basically want a good selection of exercises and you'll be fine. I didn't, I really got into alternating incline and flat bench around 98, 99. And I would do bench press, flat bench 1 week. The next week I'd do incline. And when I was doing the flat bench, I would follow it up with incline dumbbell. On the subsequent week or the following week when I was doing incline bench, I would back that up with flat dumbbell. So you don't have to do it. It's not necessary. But if you're doing something like a dumbbell bench, it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to alternate every other week. All right, let me get a drink. Here's what I'm drinking today. We don't have any Monster. We have this Ice sparkling ice, 0 sugar, with vitamins and antioxidants. Kiwi strawberry sparkling water. We're pinky winky. I try not to drink too much during live so I don't have to hold the old bladder or Ruski. Can you talk about ramping up and down, like when to use them and why? Well, you can do ramp up sets where you ramp up to your heaviest. And that can kind of combine warm-up sets with working sets to some kind of a degree. Like if you're doing deadlifts and they're taking a lot of time, you could, let's say your top deadlift set was 365, okay? And you're doing 365 by 5. You could do 225 by 5, 275 by 5, 315 by 5, and then 365 by 5, or 365 by max safe reps. So you could ramp up. You don't have to use 5s. You could use 6s. You could use 7s. You can use 8s. I use that on the overhead press. I did that this week. What I did was 135 by 8, 155 by 8, 185 by 8, and 205 by 6. I could have gotten 7 or 8, but I was surprised that I got 6. So I do that, but I also tend to have a drop down set. So once I get to my peak ramp, I want to get in some more working volume. So I usually drop weight about 10% and do 1 to 2 sets of max safe reps when I ramp up like that. Not on the deadlift, but if I did that on the bench, if I did that on the overhead, that's how I would approach it. And ramping down is basically the threes protocol, or DDP in the massive iron world. And if you don't know what these are, just go over to the main page of my YouTube and search progression, and you will get tons of videos on my progression approaches. Look for the most recent. So the threes protocol, you use a normal warm-up protocol, and then you let me see if I can find the warm-up here. I'm not sure if it's in my documents. Let me see if I can find the warm-up protocol. But when you do a threes protocol or you ramp down, you start with your heaviest working set. We're not talking about, doing singles or doubles or triples. The heaviest working set for me on, bench might be 6, 7, 8 reps. And then I drop weight 10% and do max safe reps, and drop weight 10% and do max safe reps. This is a really solid way of training. And this is basically how I trained during my strongest, in my late 40s. I would work up to a peak set, a heavy set, and then drop back down 10%. By doing this, when you drop the weight, it feels lighter. So you get kind of a mental and physical break, and you're still able to get in really, really good volume. Now, this is my warm-up PDF, okay? I have this for free. You can also go over to my website, superlivingtoday.com, search warm-up, and you can get this. And it shows you, it's just 2 pages. I think it's $4.99 on the website if you want a PDF copy. But it's right here. So it shows you basically how to do conventional warm-up sets or conventional structure. If you're going to ramp down, start heavy or maximum intensity set and back down, you want a normal warm-up protocol like this. Let's say, look at 225. Let's say your first working set on bench press is going to be 225 by 5. You do bar by 10, 135 by 8, 165 by 5, 195 by 2, boom, go. This is a general starting point. It's not a be-all, end-all set of rules that you can never vary from, but it is a really, really good starting point. But if you're going to ramp up or ramp down, start heavy, and then do back down sets like threes or DDP, you would do this conventional warm-up. If you're going to ramp up, you pick a rep range you want to ramp up in, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever, depending on the lift, and you ramp up in spaces like 225, 275, 315, 365. Or if you're not as strong, it could be 135, 155, 175, 195, something like 4 or 5 ramping sets of 5 to 8 reps. Now, your question about when to use them and why. When and why comes down to, what do I want to do with this lift? Everything is always about weekly volume. What is the overall weekly volume I'm putting on every area? My chest, my back, my shoulders, my quads, my bicepticons, my tricepticons, my trapezoids, right? It's all about weekly volume in those areas. So you can use any specific protocol you want on bench or overhead or squats or whatever, as long as everything in a weekly volume sense is working. It's solid, it's impactful, it's quality. Does that make sense? Thank you as always, and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for your support. Big Jordan Myers. I have a slight lean forward on high bar squats. Should I try to connect that? And if so, how? Generally, it's more common to see a little bit of lean with your low bar squats, but high bar squats, because the bar is on your back, you're going to have a little bit of forward lean. Depending on your limb lengths and leverages, you will have a little bit of varying degrees of forward lean. So I can't tell you how to correct something unless I see a video and see if there's anything wrong. So first off, I don't want you to panic. Second off, I'd like to see a video. If you have a link on YouTube or Instagram, post it up right now. I'll take a look. If not, if you're shy, that's okay. If you're a little shy, that's okay. I'll just send it on DM on Instagram at Ben the Barman, or join the Discord. There's at Ben the Barman. Send it to me. I'd be glad to take a look, and we can assess whether you truly have, something wrong with your squat, or if it is normal or natural. So Irva said, I don't have a question. I know everything. I would say that I have no doubt that you know everything. I'm going to have you just take a moment and search the Dunning-Kruger effect and report back. Let me know what you find out. All right? Just jokes, people, just jokes. Let's see, where are we? Is it Dunning-Kruger or Dunning-Kruger? Dunning. The reason why I say Dunning is like when I lived in my last city, the folks we lived in a downtown property. My wife had a business and we lived upstairs. And the folks owned a building across the street. Their names were Dunning, spelled D-U-N-I-N-G. And Dunning, you can pronounce it two ways, Dunning-Kruger effect. But if you don't know what it is, basically, I don't know who Irvis is, so this is just a little humor, so don't hate me. But those that are pretty intelligent kind of understand what they don't know, and they don't think they know everything. And those that are less intelligent think they know everything, but don't understand they don't know everything. Just humor. All right, Kevin. Happy Friday, Kevin. All right. Joining a small lifting-focused gym for the first time, what should I know about culture etiquette as opposed to big box gyms so that they don't hate me? If you're joining more of a hardcore gym, understand that these people are generally more serious. There's a gym near me called the Power Station in Middletown, Ohio. An old Marine runs it in his late 70s, I believe. And this guy is super squared away and no BS. And, you're going to have problems in any type of gym, depending on the ownership and the, patrons and et cetera, et cetera. But number one, I would say don't dick around on equipment. Don't be like, set of leg extensions. I got 2 likes on my latest post. Like, don't do that. Get in, use the equipment, get off. Show some respect, right? Put your damn plates away and put them away in proper order. Don't be putting 45s on the rack, burying 25s or 10s. If you do this, you deserve to have a testicle or nipple put in a vise and clenched down quite extremely because you are a knucklehead. And number one, be humble, look around you, see what everybody else is doing, learn the rules, and just hide in the shadows and do your work. And don't be obnoxious. Take a shower. Don't stink. One time when I was in South Carolina, I walked into a commercial gym and I went over to do inclines, and there was just a banana sitting on the incline bench. Just a banana sitting on the incline bench. So I was going to tell you, one of the key things about a hardcore gym or a more, focused gym like that is don't leave your banana on the incline bench. If I could give you one, oh, here it is. I actually have a picture. I took a picture. This is from, this is from 2014. I'll show you the picture, the picture. All right, here we go. Present, share screen. I walked into a gym. I was going to do inclines, and there's just a banana. So one of my big rules is don't leave a banana. Don't leave your fruit on a bench. Don't leave a fruit on your bench. Don't crop dust anybody. I would strongly recommend that. If there's like a 250-pound guy on 1,200 milligrams of testosterone a week and you crop dust him, you're probably going to have a problem. And, other than that, that's all I can say. Shelly Turner, how's it going, Shelly? Always a good day to see Shelly Turner. All right, we're about 36 minutes in. We've talked about bananas, crop dusting, all kinds of things. If you guys are new, please drop a question. I want to say this is the highlight of my week. I absolutely love doing this. I appreciate everybody's support. YouTube does not always love live videos because I don't have fancy stuff in my title that's SEO sexy or, like that sort of thing. So just watching this video, liking it, commenting, all the interactions help, so I appreciate everyone that takes a moment. Michael from Germany. Let me get a drink of pink. Guten Tag. Greetings from Germany, everyone. When would you bump up calories after a cut if someone has been maintaining their body weight for 2 weeks? Immediately. But we want to do slow and steady. If you're maintaining, you're safe to add 200 to 250. Let's sort it out without going radical and having to pull back. So I would do so immediately, 200 to 250. Ventrix. In a 3x8, so you're doing straight sets. Let's say you're doing bench press with 185. 3x8 would be 185 for all 3 sets for 8 reps. Is capping all 3 sets at 8 worse than pushing the last set for max safe reps? You don't really have, if you're capping all 3 sets, you don't have it. The golden rule is to push at least 1 set for maximum safe quality reps for every exercise. You look at your logbook, you did 185 for 3 sets of 8 last time. If you cap this time, you're just doing yourself a disservice, an injustice. You're not pushing, you're not trying to beat the logbook. Whenever you're not trying to beat the logbook on at least 1 set per exercise, you are not training hard on that exercise. That's the bare minimum, okay? We want to be safe, we want to be smart, but it all comes down to you have to do that as a minimum. You can have some workouts where you're feeling like crap, or you're feeling underwhelmed, where you can just hold steady. That's okay occasionally. So I want to skip forward a little bit. Is the sound off, or is it just my Wi-Fi? Let them know, guys. Is the sound off? Drop a quick comment. Or is it just his Wi-Fi? Just you, my friend. Sorry to tell you. Thank you, sir. It is just you. All right. So what do we got here? Greetings. Good to have you here. Thanks for tuning in. Lukenberger Fitzy, Lukerberger. I can't resist with your name. It is. For those of you that back when I started writing for Muscle and Brawn, I was actually writing kids' books. I like writing adventure books for age 8 to 12. And one of the fun things about writing kids' books was that you could make up some fun names. I actually have 2 kids' books on Amazon under the name S. William Shaw. Sherman Oak and the Magic Potato and the Santa Mysteries. And one of the fun things was making up crazy names. So whenever I see your name, I see one of these fantastic, crazy names. So I hope you don't mind. It just takes me back to that. Working 8 days working an 8-day upper lower split. So Fickberger says, hey, Steve, working an 8-day upper lower split, hitting legs twice as they are lagging, 1 leg day, 2 to 3 sets to failure each exercise, 1 leg day, higher reps, 3 sets per exercise, 1 to 2. That's fine as long as you have a progression opportunity for each exercise. How you do it, RIR, to failure, those things are good, but they're not the complete picture. The complete picture is, do I have a progression indicator or progression trigger for every exercise? Yes, very nice. No, you're in trouble. You need one. At minimum, you need to look at the logbook and make sure you're making an effort to gain at least 1 rep in the lane of hard training over last time. Doesn't matter what you're doing. That has to be in place. If that is not in place, you are thriving in the world of futility. You're encouraging futility. You have to have a progression opportunity at some minimal level. However you're approaching things, that's fine, but you have to keep an eye on the logbook. You have to try to improve over last time, and you have to do so in the lane of hard training. Big E. Now, usually when somebody comes on, I might say Big Jeff or Big Lee, but since we have Big E, it would be Big E. Right? I know it's been covered before, but just as a refresher, I'd like to hear your take on a bro split versus other popular programs. If volume is similar, the meta-analyses show that if volume is similar, it doesn't matter. This isn't my opinion. The last 3 meta-analyses at least have shown when weekly volume is the same, that it doesn't matter. This is not my opinion. This last 3 independent meta-analysis of weekly volume. A lot of people don't want to hear this in the modern lifting world, but that's what we have found out. And it makes sense because it's a 10-year journey. And over the long run, your program is going to vary. It really is about weekly volume applied consistency over a very long period of time. Now, one of the flaws in all of this thinking is that we tend to lump all muscle groups into the same pool, right? Like they somehow recover the same. We have to allow ourselves the freedom to adjust each body part. Like you might want to work chest every 5 days and legs every 7 days because of soreness. Always keep an eye on weekly volume. There's no need to worry. I guarantee it. There's no need to worry. The meta-analyses back this. We went through a whole long period of time where natural bodybuilding champions were using primarily body part splits. I know because I wrote during that era. I interviewed bodybuilding champions during that era. And, their results are the same as the results now. It's just the way it is. So I'm going to skip forward real quick. Paul, thank you for your donation to the channel. Paul is somebody I cherish from Team Massive. And he said, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? If a woodchuck could chuck wood, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? That's it right there. How'd I do? That's stuff we did in the 70s and 80s because we were dorks. We had no internet. So we sat around going, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Jeffrey, how's it going, Jeffrey? Big E. If the muscle feels better blasting it on its own, much better pump. Yeah, go with your passions. That's the big thing. Find a split you love and go hard at it. That's the real magic. People are trying to pull us away from the magic, and the magic is passion and hard training and nailing your nutrition and staying in the gym and being consistent. It's not some magical split. I unlocked the magical puzzle, right? It's all nonsense. It is. That's not opinion. That's if you look at if you really want to be scientific, look at the history of lifting. Look at the history of lifting. There have been all different kinds of seasons. Seasons where people did full body, seasons where naturals did body parts, seasons now where everybody does a varying degree of things. This week, I stumbled upon, and I made a video about it, or push pull legs. That an influencer said push pull legs wasn't good for naturals. Now, I'm not trying to be sarcastic here, but this is literally one of the dumbest, most misleading pieces of junk information. It is the heart and soul of the cancer that drives confusion. Like somehow a split is bad for a natural. Like we completely don't understand anything, do we? If saying like a push pull legs is bad, or an upper lower is bad, or upper posterior is bad, or a full body is bad, or whatever it is one of the most dense things anybody could ever say. It's ridiculous because number one, there's 1,000 different ways to program every split. You might do ramping sets on deadlifts, or 6-minute block on deadlifts, or not do deadlifts and do 4x6 on pendlay. There's literally 1,000 ways to slice and dice every program. It's like saying an ingredient, an avocado is bad, right? Like there's literally a million ways to put an avocado in a recipe. Yeah, that's probably a bad analogy, right? But a split doesn't tell you anything. Here's the thing. If you are training 3 days a week, you're training 3 blocks of about 60, 75, 90 minutes a piece. Your time investment in those 3 days is going to be the same, regardless of how you slice and dice your work. Upper lower, upper posterior, torso limbs, full body. You're going to have the same weekly volume per body part on any of these splits. So volume is inherently equated. If you have a 3-day split, regardless of how you slice and dice it, you're going to have equated volume per body part. Same with the 4-day, same with the 5-day. So do I think, there are some better options than others? Yes, I do. But everything can yield results when it is structured intelligently. Big Lee. Have you ever held a skunk? They're beautiful little feather dusters. I'm laughing at this because my wife did a lot of pinup contests over the years. And one of the women there had a de-skunked skunk as a pet and would bring it. Big E. I do have Venmo, but you could, if you truly want to, donate, you can just donate, a couple bucks through here. You can check out the old dollar or Ruski sign. All right, where are we at? Lee Darling, a guy I know bragged. Oh, here we go. I've been down this road a million times. He could bench 200 kilos. 2 years ago, we were benching together, and I got one extra rep than him on the 80-kilo decline. Even with vitamin S, is 120 kilos in 2 years possible? So he's saying, so you benched with this dude 2 years ago, and you got one more rep than him using 180 or using 80 kilos. And now he's bragging he can do 200 kilos in 2 years. Is it possible with a lot of vitamin S? Yes. Is it likely? No. If you go to a world-class powerlifting meet, that 200 kilos is pretty much what some of the cream of the crop is benching. 500 is more rare. So that's elite. Is it possible? Yes. Does he look like it? Does he look like a megastoids type of guy? Or does he look like you could punch a hole in his soul if you gave him a Superman punch? That's the question. I don't know. Anything's possible if he's on megastoids. Scott MC. Aloha, big fella. I'm going through a deload week and I hate it. Well, me too. I consider it to be a good thing that I am desperate to get back at it. Yeah, I don't generally do deload weeks. If I'm going to take a whole week off, it's going to be vacation or something else going on, or I'm sick. If I need time off, I'm just going to take a couple of days off, get back in the gym. So yeah, lick your wounds. That's fine. Nothing wrong with taking a week off, after every phase of training. I hate it too. I like the lift. Big Lee. I've been using SSB squats, and while holding onto my rack, I found I can do full ATG. Yeah, it's normal. You have your weight in front of you, more of your body weight in front of you. So like if you notice when you transition or try a front squat, because your weight is in front of you, however you're holding it, it's easier and more natural to hit depth. So you're changing the dynamic of the squat from more of your weight behind you and the torso a little bit forward to being more upright, right? And in this case, safety bar squat, holding the rack, absolutely normal. Big Lee. What's a good guideline or standard for using a weight sled for cardio laps weight? I don't have a guideline. I've done it before. I construct programs for my clients that do this stuff, but it's up to you, man. How long do you have to pull in your gym or outside or whatever? 50 yards, 70 yards. Just do it in a safe way. Do it in a way you enjoy. Allow your heart rate to probably get back down to normal and then attack again. When it comes to conditioning work, this should be something you just simply enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Big PD Paladin from Team Massive. Aesthetically speaking, what do you think is the best body fat percentage for male lifters to be? Very good question. So I think bulking up to 18%, we're talking perfect world. Everybody's different. So some people like to bulk heavier. I am obviously above 18%. So, but generally, what I find in coaching, kind of not going over 18%, guys get a little bit nervous. When you start to creep above 18%, you see mooby fat, man boob fat start to develop. You see a little bit of lower belly fat start to develop. You see a little bit of love handle fat start to develop and lower back fat. If you see somebody with a little bit of mooby juice, a little bit of lower belly fat, a little bit of love handle fat, a little bit of lower back fat, they're at generally slightly above or noticeably above, dramatically above 18%. So 18%, this is a rough guideline. So I would say for the majority of my male clients, and about 15% of my clients are female, they don't like to go above 18%. So generally ping-ponging between 12, 13 to 18 or 14 to 18 is pretty much the normal. Aesthetically speaking, the more mass you have, the more forgiving your body fat percentage is. And let me explain, because this is a concept I have explained many times over the years. If you're 18% body fat and you have 20 more pounds we have two guys at 18% body fat. Okay? Two guys at 18%. This is the mass monster. He has 20 pounds more mass than this guy. He's more stick figure. But they're both at 18% body fat. he has 20 pounds more mass. At the same body fat percentage, 18, he is going to look 10 times better. Because how you look is not just tied to your body fat percentage, it is tied to your mass. The more mass you have, the better you look in almost every case. So body fat percentage is cool. It's a good indicator of, once we start to accrue movie fat and man booby fat and belly fat, we're probably also accruing internal or visceral fat around our organs, etc. So generally from a health standpoint, we probably want to be closer to 18% max. But aesthetically, we have to understand that more mass means more forgiving at a higher body fat percentage. So we have that in the mix. You can have two guys at 12%, and if one doesn't have hardly any mass, he'll look not great. You can have somebody with 20 more pounds of mass at 12%. They'll look stunning. They'll look just amazing. So we're talking in those ranges, but we're also framing it with the reality that having more muscle mass makes you look inherently better aesthetically. So aesthetics isn't just, for those of you guys listening, and PD understands this, that aesthetics is not simply going to be a body fat percentage. There's two factors involved: body fat percentage and muscularity. Ernie, New Mexico. What did I ask? What did we forget? Why did Ernie say New Mexico? What did I forget? Ernie, are you trying to confuse me? Aberrant. Should we count those bicep curl overhead press that we do in between work tasks sitting at the computer towards our weekly volume? If you're actually, I can't see you doing overhead presses with a barbell, so I would say no. If you're doing actual curl reps, yeah. Ernie says story. Story, New Mexico. My story was about South Carolina, so that's where I'm getting lost, Ernie. I'm not trying to play dumb. I'm just confused. Bop, bop, bop. Big E. Story time. Which methods you regretted doing for training and which ones you would have started earlier with? I've tried a lot of different splits over the years, so I don't ever regret. The biggest regret I have is thinking, I can't call it a regret because it was a learning experience. But I did German volume training 10 by 10 with 90 seconds rest on 185 with squats. For someone that squats 150, you would think this is not a big deal. I was so insanely sore 8 and 9 days later, I could not continue with German volume training. So I wouldn't really call that a regret, but this is one of the biggest memories I have had. And it was very enlightening. On the other hand, with overhead press on German volume, I noticed I could not sustain the same weight. So I started with like 135, and I thought I'd be able to do 10 by 10. Like on my third set, I could only do like 8 reps. So I dropped it down to 115. And like on my second set of that, I couldn't even do like 6 reps. So what I found is, like on the overhead presses, shoulder endurance is not equal to quad endurance or chest endurance. And that's a general statement, but I found the shoulders went downhill quick when it came to endurance on German volume training. And I ended up barely being able to do like 65 for 8 reps on the last set of 10. It was ridiculous. So I don't regret it. I don't really regret. My biggest regrets, are, there are times, like you look back at your life decisions, right? And there was one time where I moved across country for somebody I was seeing, right? A woman I was seeing. And you can always look, man, I wasn't really lifting for a couple of years during that time. You can look back and regret it, but that's life, right? It's a long journey. So what can you do? I don't really regret anything, man. Training wise, the only thing I wish I would have started earlier was deadlifts. We really didn't talk about them back in the day. I wish I would have started with pull-up. I wish I would have stayed more with pull-ups. I was doing them a lot during my first 2.5 years, but I ended up just not doing them as much. And that's a big regret. Big Mike M. I used the laying leg curl machine this week versus seated, and my hamstrings were destroyed. Bonus. Should I regularly rotate them? Generally, rotating is good for, the mental side of things, so you don't feel stagnant. But if you do find something that is just feeling amazing, roll with it, man. I mean, if you like it, let's just go all in on that bad boy and see what happens for a while. You can either rotate or you can go 100% in. Whatever you prefer, go with your passion. Big Lee, 17,000 for selling a website. That'd be 30,000 in today's UK money. Yeah, I'll tell you, man. I mean, at the time I sold Muscle and Brawn, again, I have no affiliation with them. They sell fake, crap products now or whatever they do. I'm not hating on it. It's not my website. Whatever they're doing there, it's their business. But, I had just gone through a divorce and I'm paying $1,753 a month in child support, doing my duty. And someone offered me $17,000. I'm like, what? Like stone cold, what? Like, and I said to him, I'm like, here's my PayPal. And literally 5 minutes later, I had that money come through on PayPal. I'm like, what? I thought somebody was punking me. Big Ernie Peterson, ESPN Radio, Mike and Mike was great. I used to drive, when I was a machinist, I would drive 50 minutes each way. And, you had two choices. You could listen to classic rock, and I've listened to enough classic rock. I have nothing, against classic rock. But when you listen to it for a long time, this is before the internet era, really, you end up hearing the same 30 songs 8,000 times a week. You got a little bit over it. So you would listen to AM radio and you had nonstop political talk, which if you listen to too much political radio, regardless of the side of the fence you're on, you start to believe the world's going to come to an end. And I didn't need that kind of thinking in my head. So I would listen to radio, ESPN radio, and just wonderful, just made the drive go by quickly. Big Lee. What are your thoughts on the video between Will Tennyson in The Most Dangerous Gym? I've saw it, but I haven't watched it. Will Tennyson has a video where he trained in the most dangerous gym. I've not seen it yet. So if you guys have an opinion, drop it down below, but I have not seen it. How scientifically accurate is Jeff Nippard's most scientifically? I appreciate it, guys, but like, I don't watch any of these videos, very rarely. It's not that I hate Jeff Nippard or hating on any of these guys. I just don't have time. 70 hours a week, I'm working on coaching or building content or YouTube videos or doing custom workouts. I will check in to see what people are talking about, but I very rarely do I have time to watch a video. If I do at night, like on a Friday night or a Wednesday night when I'm waiting for my wife to spend an hour and a half showering and getting ready to watch a movie, I'll watch some YouTube videos on my TV upstairs. But usually I'm watching, something not lifting related, Because the problem is, like, when I start watching lifting videos, I get fired up. Like, he said, what? That's not true. I tend to get fired up. So when work is done, I try not to watch lifting videos because I don't want to get fired up. Like last night, I went to bed and I'm sitting there at 10:30 and I'm starting to think about something somebody said. I'm like, this is wrong. And I'm thinking video structure and things going in my head. And I don't think I got to sleep till like 11:30. I try not to let that in my head after I walk away from work. It's just a personal thing. When I'm upstairs watching YouTube, I watch like fails or I watch like Beard Meets Food. I watch Joey versus the World or whatever it is. I watch a lot of different stuff like that. Movie previews, the 10 scariest movies on Netflix you haven't seen. That sort of stuff. So, Shelley Turner. How to gauge recovery considering dropping from 5 days back to 4. So, number one, when you wake up in the morning, do you feel like, oh, it's really hard for me to get up? That's usually an indicator that you're under recovered. Not from a random bad night of sleep, but if you flip your legs over the bed and you're like, ugh, right? If in the morning, sometimes you just have a hard time kickstarting and getting going, that could mean you're under recovered. Like when I was at my hardest training, after 2 hard days, the third day, I felt a little bit kind of sleepy during the day. So that was a sign. Do you feel a little bit sluggish getting out of bed? Do you feel a little bit more sleepy than normal? You can track these things. You can get a habit tracker app and track like my recovery today feels like a 4 or a 3 or whatever. And then you can kind of look at trends. And I'm going to skip forward. Sarah, Tim and I watch Beard Meets Food. Yeah, one of my favorite guys, just a good guy, and he lifts. There's a lot of different, food challenge guys out there, but he's just a decent guy. How can you not love him? Just a wonderful dude. Let's see, where were we at? No. NorCal Lion. Every time I want to break form and start ego lifting, I hear a little voice in my head that says maximum safe quality reps. That is the voice of reason. Haven't been injured since. Good, man. I'm really glad to hear that. Intermediate lifter. Is the BTN behind the neck press unnecessary? Necessary, unnecessary? Nothing's a requirement as long as you have a good selection of exercises. It's not inherently dangerous. I did it for 20 years. You just can't like arbitrarily try to lower it to your shoulders if it's stressing your shoulders because you have to push your head forward or whatever. You can at minimum take if the thumb is if the connection points of the thumbs are the bar, and you can take the bar to lower ear level and see how much lower. See how much lower the elbow is rather than the shoulder. You're getting if the elbow's right here equal with the shoulder, you're not getting as much side delt stimulation. Bringing it down here to minimum bottom of the ear, the elbow is well below the shoulder. That's a good, reasonable level for most people, and you can go deeper if you want. Big Jason Argyle. Would you train 3 days on the bounce on a fairly regular basis? What's a bounce? I'm too old to understand. Would you train 3 days on the bounce on a fairly regular basis? Does that mean consecutively? Somebody educate me. I don't want to answer the question incorrectly. Somebody type it in real quick. What am I missing? 3 days on the bounce. 3 days back to back to back. If that's the case, you could, as long as your structure, you can do anything as long as your structure is okay. What do you think of overloading creatine? Okay, let's be real here for a moment. I'm going to take you down memory lane 3 days in a row, according to Goog. Yeah, you can, as long as the structure's fun. I want to take you back to a magical time. We're going to talk creatine and taking more than 5 grams. Okay? I'm going to take you back to a magical time in the history of Massive Iron. So I'm going to go to the main page of my YouTube. And where are we? Hold on. Okay. Present, share screen, present, share screen. So do you need 10 grams of creatine each day? I had talked about a while back. I can't play the video because YouTube will block me for featuring my own video or penalize me or demonetize me for playing my own video. So I had talked about using more than 5 grams of creatine a day and 10 grams of creatine. I have found personally, and this is years ago, okay, this is 6 years ago, that when I took more creatine, I found more benefits. Am I saying this will be the case for you? No. But I had found early on when I take more than 5 grams, I would get better pumps. I felt better. I felt like I was getting more out of it. Now, what's the movie where they go, they're all going to laugh at you. You know, they're all going to laugh at you. You're right. That's, let me get these other videos out of here. That's kind of, you know, I had a lot of comments like, you're an idiot. Science is showing right now the trend is that taking more is good for you and provides focus and cognitive benefits. So I'm not saying you need to take more than 5 grams a day. What I'm saying is, you know, there's some possibility that'll benefit you. Let's see. This aged beautifully. This is from 4 months ago. I recently went up to 10 grams and can definitely feel the difference. 5 does nothing for me. I finally tried 10, and after a week, my lips are stronger. My cognitive function has improved. So the science, you know, I didn't base this on some magic science nonsense. It was just on sharing, you know, man to man, man to woman. Hey, I'm felt like I got more. And now the science is kind of leaning in that direction, that more is probably better. I'm taking 5 grams of creatine, notice good changes. Any thoughts on this? Yeah, I'll comment on that later, but yeah, let's see. I'm just looking at some more of the more recent. Okay, good. So anyway, we'll move on past that. But you know, there's a lot of information now that creatine helps us with cognitive function, and you know, as a nootropic. So for that reason alone, we're all pretty dumb, right? You're dumb, I'm dumb. We don't have a lot going for us. We're dumb and we're ugly. You're dumb, you're ugly. I'm dumb, I'm ugly. We're all dumb and ugly. So lifting helps us be less ugly. At least if we put a box on our head, you know, we look good. We look good from behind, so somebody sees our ugly head, right? But you know, if you can have anything that's going to help your, you know, focus or cognitive function, what's the downside? It's one of the few supplements that actually seems to provide some decent benefits in a lot of areas. Big Lee, in your experience, how happy would you say the most disciplined of lifters are? Well, personally, I'm happy. A few of my mates think I'm missing out. The guys and women I know that are at the top of the game, and I've met endless numbers over the years. Now, this isn't a generalization to say, you know, this isn't a generalization to say everybody's happy and nobody's depressed or anything like that. But when you have a lot of planning and structure, these guys and girls, when I say guys and girls, they just are generally in a pretty good place mentally. They're stronger than where they would be, if they didn't have that routine in their life, et cetera. So I think discipline and structure inherently can facilitate lower stress. So a lot of them are a lot happier than they would be without it. This is, if you want to keep your hair, this is the oldest, biggest nonsense myth, my friend. This is not true at all. It's not true at all. I'm gonna debunk this in a second, but this, I don't mean any disrespect, by saying this. I'm just providing this as an educational tool, but this is a crock of crap. It's nonsense. It's like 2004 thinking. Does creatine why is the belief that creatine causes hair loss nonsense? If that were the case, eating meat would cause hair loss. The idea that creatine causes hair loss has become one of the most persistent supplement industry myths in lifting circles. It's basically nonsense. The entire myth comes from a single small study. One small study. Rugby players took creatine for 3 weeks. Researchers saw a slight rise in DHT, a hormone linked to hair loss. But the increase was so small, the study had just 20 subjects, and no hair loss was actually measured. Dozens of studies since have found no link. Dozens of studies since have found no link. Dozens of studies since have found no link. Hair loss is almost entirely genetic. Misinterpretation fuels the myth. And creatine has an enormous evidence base for safety. So I mean this respectfully. It's anybody that, I'm not saying you believe this. You might be being facetious. If you eat meat, then for sure, yeah, your hair is going to fall off because it. No, this is, Patty says, I'm going to try it, but I wonder if this is just a scam to sell more creatine. No. I mean, that's kind of the knee jerk, but the science is very, very strong. And, it's, let's pull back up. Let's pull back up ChatGPT and look at the science and look who's backing the science. Because let's be fair. I mean, let's explore. Let's take an honest look at things. I don't know what ChatGPT is going to say. When it comes to this, creatine, the science showing creatine at 10 plus grams is positive for cognitive, benefits. Who is funding this, or is it independent and reliable? Let's find out. Here's a breakdown of what I found on the science regarding high dose of creatine, 10 grams plus a day, and cognitive brain effects. What the results show, who funded, conflict of interest, blah, blah, blah. All righty. Does creatine, let's expand it a little bit. Dose response of creatine, blah, 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 2023, 10 grams a day or 20 grams a day, 6 weeks in healthy adults. No statistically significant improvements in cognitive performance. No consistent changes, Single dose, Found that creatine partially reversed metabolic energy declines from sleep deprivation, Compared many studies, acute high dose, 20 grams per day. The essay panel concluded that the evidence does not establish a cause and effect relationship in improvement in cognitive function. So in summary, high dose 2025 seems to show some benefit in specific stress situations. And let's see, I'd be curious to look at this deeper because I'm no expert. Who funded the studies? No external funding. Does not clearly list strong pharmaceutical company funding. EFSA regulatory uses public funded. So right now the jury is obviously out. There's some benefits that in stress-induced situations it might provide benefit. Do your own research. I'm no expert and I'm not pushing it. I'm simply saying 6 years ago I found more benefits when it came to pump. I mean, at the end of the day, if you are looking at I'm trying to find where we were question-wise. Taking something like extra creatine or ashwagandha for potential cognitive or anxiety benefits or stress-induced benefits, you have to decide whether it's worth it for you, right? Some of this is it worth it? But it's a valid question to ask because, back in the day, a lot of the supplement stuff was pushed by the supplement industry. So it is certainly a valid question to ask. What are the best chest exercises with an irritated shoulder? This is a very difficult question to ask because it's going to be different for everybody. With a shoulder issue, it could be any number of things. So it's very difficult to answer. A good starting point would be to get a bench press slingshot device, the classic bench press Mark Bell slingshot, and see if that shoulder support helps with your shoulder issue. I have no affiliation, but that would be a good place to start. Can I continue to do regular chest work with a slingshot? Yes, a slingshot's going to allow you to use more weight, but that support might provide the benefit or relief that you need. Beyond that, there's no way to tell. You simply have to try exercises, see what works best for you, and use the exercises that are treating you well. That's as honest as I can get. That's the only way to find out. Best way to work triceps at a home gym with only dumbbells and barbells and weights. So I'm just going to list out possible exercises. Close grip bench, JM press. You can do a skull crusher or skull destroyer with a barbell. You can do a French press if it works for you with a barbell. You can do dumbbell kickbacks, rolling tricep extensions, dumbbell skull crushers, single arm tricep extensions with dumbbell, double arm tricep extensions with dumbbells. Tons and tons and tons of options. So let me know if you have any more questions on that. Big Lee, is 2 cans of beer on a Sunday going to kill my gains? No. And make my shoulders explode? No. My arms shrink? No. My legs shrivel up? No. And cause me to walk with a hunchback? No. I have about 4 beers a week, even during my cut. And what I do, I'm drinking like the 99 and the 79 calorie beers. I'll save a couple hundred calories for Friday and Saturday night because me and my wife like to watch a movie, and that's it. I keep it within my calorie level. I keep it regulated right now, and I have not imploded. Best way to work. Okay, we got that one. Sorry. Big Justin, good morning. Good to have you here. Big Billy Baker, good to have you here. Happy Friday. Big Sam. Is a T-bar row with close neutral grip more of a lat exercise? Don't overthink this. You want a good selection of exercises that work well for you, that have a good progression opportunity. Back exercises are going to varying degrees hit your rhomboids, your upper back, your lats, your traps, your mid traps, whatever. Don't overthink it. That's the nature of a compound movement. We want a good selection of exercises and we want to get stronger at them. So if you are doing a row and you focus more on driving your elbow towards your hip during the row, then you can get more lat focused. I can get a lot of lat activation out of a 250-pound dumbbell row. I can feel the lats working. So you're going to get a lot of lat activation inherently with rows. If you focus on driving your elbows more towards your hip, I find you get more lat feel. How's it going, JR? Today I learned about NCAA animal mascots. Your country is great. Thanks. Yeah, we have if you've never seen any of our marching bands during halftime of college football game, watch that. You will be absolutely amazed. A whole banana or a banana peel. A whole banana I would treat as a bonus. Yeah, it looked pretty edible. It wasn't too brown, etc. Big Nolan. Somebody already beat me to the story. Sorry, Nolan. Thanks for tuning in. He left that banana there to hold his equipment. It probably did. I didn't touch the banana, just for the record. I don't know about you, but I'm not touching somebody else's banana. A banana boost mid-workout. People tuning in later going, what in the hell are we talking about a banana? You'll have to rewind the tape to see what we're talking about. I love your max deadlift singles in 10 minutes method, but my athletic background was competitive swimming, so I got used to timing intervals. You know what? You're not alone. A lot of people love that protocol. Some people do 6 minutes. Shelly does 8. But it is just a wonderful way to reset, to take some of the cardiovascular and lower back stress away, etc. If someone is progressing and recovering on 8 sets of triceps a week, is there a scenario in which reducing volume would have them? No, that's a fictional construct. If you're recovering fine, progression on these exercises is probably going to be about the same regardless. Progression, we have to look at things in a weekly, from a weekly structure. Progression is going to be about the same, either way. If you want to reduce things to 6 sets to see if you feel better, you can. But I really doubt if you feel good now, it's going to have any impact at all on rate of progression. Jeff, any advice on reducing or improving loose skin? Surgery's it, my friend. Surgery's it. You can flesh things out a little bit with muscle, but even still, I have loose skin from when I was 346 under my armpit, minor degree, and on my lower belly. That's the best thing you can do is get lean and get bigger, but it's generally always going to be there unless you have surgery. Big Lee. Just done incline with a reverse grip. I know it's not the traditional grip, but elbows have been sending warning shots. If it works for you, work it. That's the magic of lifting. There's nothing right or wrong. If you have a good selection of exercises and it's working for you, go with it. Tony. Happy Friday. Do you think that one of the underrated benefits of a bro split is the easier setup and exercise to exercise transition? It certainly can be, especially with a home gym. I mean, if I had to jump from squats to bench or whatever and move my barbell around and do all kinds of shenanigans, it would definitely take me a lot longer. So that is certainly a potential benefit. What I do now is I can go from bench barbell exercise to a dumbbell exercise to maybe a lighter dumbbell exercise. I have a jammer arm or a couple machines. So it is an easier transition for me. Usually in my home gym, I am, just transitioning plates rather than whole setups. So absolutely. On an upper lower or on upper posterior, excuse me, Justin Jones, on an upper posterior split, would it be too much to have RDLs on one day, stiff leg deadlifts on the other day? And I don't think that I would invest that amount of time in 3 hinge movements in a week. Could you do it? Yes. Are you going to die? Probably no. If you have the time, can you do it? Yes. Would I do it? No. I would probably alternate RDLs and stiff leg deadlifts every other week and then trap bar. That's probably going to be better for most people, but do what's working for you. David, I did push-pull legs in my 20s, natural, did wonders for me. In my 50s now, my split is sit, lay, and eat. I got you, my friend. Yeah, but you're right. Anybody saying like a certain split is going to work for naturals is a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Just to clarify my question, say on bench, I do 3 sets of 8 with 185. And next I go to 190 and get 887. And I stay at that weight. That's, yeah, you have a progression opportunity. That's fine. That's, like I said earlier, as long as you have a progression opportunity. The thing is, you had said that you're not training to failure, or not trying. You are adding reps, and you are going to be training to failure in this protocol. Basically, any time you have a progression approach, straight sets is always going to eventually move down to where you're pushing one set pretty close to failure, because you're trying to keep your reps up, especially if you're moving up in weight. Actually, enjoy your names for me better than my username. Perfect. Thank you. This might sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but in your opinion, should arms always be done? No, they don't have to be done on their own day. Weekly volume is all that's important. I do try my mom. My wife is home, not my mom. The dogs are going crazy. I do triceps after chest or shoulders. I do biceps after back. And I add some in on a junk day when I have time. Best is weekly volume. That works for you regarding the split. Do you think high rep squats and deadlifts do you think high rep squats and deadlifts cardio is it as good? Well, I don't really think high rep deadlifts are the way to go in general. We're not trying to make rules, but you're going to have a tendency to pick up lower back fatigue and degrading of form. And, the limiter is sometimes going to be your lower back stress and your cardiovascular stress. That's why they call them breathing squats, right? So I don't think it's for squats, you can do them occasionally. Deadlifts, I don't think it's a good idea, especially with the lower back stress. For me, this is Paul. For me, most people don't have enough size to look aesthetic. You're absolutely right. Most people do not have enough size to look aesthetic at a leaner body fat percentage. They just kind of don't look like they have a lot of fat, but they don't generally look overly impressive. Jason, do you find you choose a hotel over another? Because no, I don't. I don't travel a lot, but generally, if I'm going to look for a gym, sometimes the hotels have a gym pass, and if I'm going to train, I will look for like a Planet Fitness or LA Fitness and get a day pass and go there. That's usually what I do. Big Tony, would you consider the stiff leg deadlift a unicorn lift as opposed to the RDL, since loading potential is greater in the former? The stiff leg deadlift, the deadlift is more of a unicorn lift because, yes, it does hit the back and traps, but yes, it hits the glutes and the hamstrings and the quads and everything. But it's really a strong back stressor. So I call it a unicorn lift because it's Not specifically a classic back building lift, even though it hits the back exceptionally hard. The stiff leg deadlift transfers a lot of the stress to the hamstrings and lower back. So because it's more focused, yes, it's going to involve hips and glutes. Yeah, I would put it more of a unicorn lift than certainly RDLs, because the RDL, the function is to load the hamstrings. Things you've learned at jiu-jitsu so far. We started to get into arm bars and Chimera locks. I am learning, what I can do and what I can't do at my size, because, my instructor is stressing that it's all about learning what works best for you and applying it. And that's what I'm focusing on right now. Stephen, have been addicted to Olympic lifts since the early 70s. Now with YouTube, I can watch it anytime. My favorite sport brings me back. Yeah, that's one of the amazing things about YouTube, that you can find any topic and just find a wealth of information on it, and even classic competitions, etc. Alonzo, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, full body, Tuesday, Thursday, arms and calves. Does it work? I don't like doing arms the day before pressing and pulling. So no, that gives I would not recommend that at all. Not a big fan. I'd rather see you do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then a junk day on Saturday where you do arms and then take a day off. Not a big fan of that. Most splits I'm okay with. I'm not a big fan of that. So Jason says bounce is after each other, British slang. Sorry, I've never heard that one before. We tackled that one. I read somewhere that if you're over 200 pounds, you should take 10 grams of creatine. I think it makes sense that if you have more muscle, you might get more benefit from taking more creatine. So I don't see why there would be a negative. But again, mileage may vary. Adjust, listen to your body, et cetera, et cetera. Is Raw Essentials creatine good? I don't know that brand, but anything I'm going to buy at a big box store like Sam's Club or Walmart, I would definitely do my research about quality, because anytime I'm buying vitamins or supplements from Walmart or Target or, Dick's or anything, I'm going to do my research on the brand name. So Bo says, if you eat too much meat, then sure it would. Patty says, what does meat have to do with it? Meat contains creatine inherently. So I think that's what he was mentioning. I've been using creatine for 12 years and I have no hair, but it's genetics. All right. Imagine being over 30 and having hair. I just buzz mine. It just makes life easier. Is there any reason why, with 3 sets of incline bench, I can get sore, but if I had 2 sets of barrel press after, I don't? That's really, really unusual. I don't know. I've never heard of that before. My only advice is to not worry about it, and to simply worry about progressive overload and hard training and good focus and control, and not to worry about soreness. There could be some kind of impact from the barrel press where it is causing some positive benefits on your connective tissue or fascia. Stephen, my slingshot was awesome, but it gave a false sense of big numbers. Yeah, I mean, it does provide stimulation from overload. So, it's like an overload tool, like bands or chains. It provides overload. So, cans of beer will cause hair loss. That could be. Best options for underhand rows. I mean, other than the Yates row, I've never tried an underhand dumbbell row. I've never tried an underhand seated cable row. I would probably, outside of a Yates row, I'd probably try some form of a underhand seated cable row. Maybe if you had to do an easy bar with a little bit of bend, that might make it easier than, fully turning your wrists. Last question, last call. If you guys have any more questions, get them in now. What is an intelligent way to progress in deadlifts? Any method I teach. I currently worked up to 2 heavy top sets, but this isn't really beating. You don't want to get beat up. You want to progress. And I know you're probably aware of this, but you're at a pretty heavy weight right now. Adding 1 rep a month is going to be really, really good progress. I would consider using the 6 or 10 minute deadlift protocol because it's easier to add a rep every other week, and then maybe do a 3-week periodization on the off weeks. So Steve versus Mike in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If Massive Iron wins, Mike has to train like a normal human. Hey, give me a year. I will take on Mike in for fun, for charity. I'm just a peon. But yeah, man, I'd be all over it. Let's rock. All right, guys, that's it. Thank you. Amazing questions today. I can't thank you each and every one of you for joining me on Massive Iron Live. Please come back next Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Come join my Discord group, and please head over to my website, superlivingtoday.com. Sign up for coaching. I would love to help you. Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. We are out of here.
You're not almost there. You're not almost there. You're not almost there.